Hello everyone and welcome to the SCITT draft. I've done the rules and sort of the tidbits in video format because I'm not very good at writing them down and I quite often like to waffle when talking through things on stream, hence the reason I've already said tidbits and that bit right there. But fear not, simple and constructive comments only in this video and also instructions about the draft. So how will it work? Pretty simple. I've already contacted all of the remaining teams from the last version and they are getting their chance to retain 3 of their own players. I was going to put the rule about retaining a homegrown player, but I thought, naff that off. It's no need, just the 3 players they're retaining from their current crop of 14 in their team. With that being said, the money also from those players gets deducted. So if you're taking home 2 players that are 500 grand and 1 player that's 100 grand, that'll be £1.1 million off your budget of 4 million, meaning you only have 2.9 million for the draft, and so on and so forth. The new teams joining the SCITT that weren't in the last version of the SCITT called the SCIF, confusing I know, will get their chance to retain 2 players from the players that haven't been selected. So if there's a player that you like on your team that you're just hoping no one picks, there's a huge chance that that player might be gone. And to balance things out as well for the new players, in the second round of picking, they get to pick 2 players when it's their turn. That way it makes it quite even in the fact that they get 3, but obviously they only get the ones that are left over, and they don't get a big go in the first round of the draft. So the bigger players, the newer players, might already be gone. How the draft worked? Simple. Well, hopefully simple. I've given each person a number between 1 and 10, and that is the order we go through in the draft first round. So we'll go from player 1 all the way down to player 10. When we hit player 10 then goes again, and it goes up to person 1, and then player 1 to player 10 to player 1. That way we are working with the ABBA formation, which was trialled with penalty shootouts. Don't think it's used anymore, I didn't like it. But it's useful for things like the draft, because that way it doesn't give player number 1 a really big advantage and player number 10 a really big disadvantage. Before we start the actual draft, it's worth noting there are a couple of squad selection rules you need to be aware of. Rule number 1, you have to have 12 players. This isn't by choice, but it's simple because you have to have 12 to make your team playable on Cricket 19. So it's 11 plus your 12th man who does nothing. I suppose he comes in as a fielding sub. I haven't really had too many injuries on the game, so I can't tell you. Second rule though is about homegrown players. And this is the last rule. So the rule where every player last tournament had to play at least 3 times, we've scrapped that because, well, let's put it this way, it was an arse ache in the end. I thought it'd be fun, but it was an arse ache. With the squad selection rules and the homegrown players, well, you have to have 2 Scottish players in your starting 11 at all times, and you have to have at least 5 domestic players in your squad or starting 11 at all times. Now, clarification of domestic players is on your squad list, but for those that haven't got it or aren't part of the tournament, it is pretty simple. It is British Isles, Scotland, England, Ireland. Those are 3 nations that we're looking at. Those are 3 nations that, well, they're the only 3 nations in the British Isles that play cricket, or are good enough at cricket, put it that way. So in terms of squad selection rules, those are the only 2 you need to worry about. You can have more than 5 domestic players. Obviously, you can have 3 Irish players and 2 Scottish players if you want. You can have 5 Scottish players. But bear in mind, there are only 40 Scottish players, so don't choose them all, I'd say. Don't be that guy. But 2 Scottish players, and then 1 Irish, 1 English, maybe a second English, because I couldn't count there. Who knows? But that's the domestic rule pretty much sorted. And apart from that, I think I've covered everything. We've got the draft rolling and ready to go. It will be done via Discord. So that's the one last thing we have to cover off before we go. I will be in a private Discord call, and each of the members, if they want, can join this Discord call. Now the only problem is that you won't be able to hear them, you won't be able to do anything with them. The only point of that is so they can hear me live and free right at the moment I say words, they can hear it. They can't speak in the channel, all they can do is listen, and I can't hear them as well. That way it should help the draft go really fast and really smooth. And in terms of player reduction, I said all the rules are done. They are done. They're literally, that's it, they're done. You don't have to have a maximum number of players. As long as you have the minimum of 12, you can go for it. But that does represent risks. Every team in this current version of the skiff has had players that have been a letdown, been poor with bat, with ball, or in the field. So bear that in mind when you're picking. Either way, that is that. Thank you all for partaking. May the best man, woman, or toaster win their players. I don't know. And back to real time Kurt, who probably is going to repeat all this again in about 30 minutes because he's an idiot.